Hawley, member for Baulkham Hills.
Thank you, Mr Acting Speaker. I rise too to support the Road Transport Amendment Obstruction and Hazard Safety Bill 2013, and in doing so join many of the past speakers, both government and opposition, in congratulating the Minister for Roads in implementing this very, very important bill. Mr Acting Speaker, I can't claim, like previous speakers, to be an expert on the roads. I can't claim to be an expert on country roads. I deliberately avoid driving long distances purely because I have a very, very intolerant approach to rough driving, and the type of driving that unfortunately is so common here in New South Wales, the sort of driving that has forced governments to increase penalties, points, the sort of government that has been sort of activity that has forced governments to amend compulsory third-party insurance because of the price to the taxpayer and to the community has just been way too high. I actively avoid those type of roads that previous speakers have alluded to, the type of roads that see these fatalities all too common. Mr Acting Speaker, I think any member of this House who spends their first term, if they don't walk away after one term, knowing how dangerous roads like the Pacific Highway, the Princess Highway, and those highways that take us out to the great western parts of this state would know that you do indeed on many occasions take your life into your own hands. And so this type of legislation, I think, is very, very important in sending not only a message to the community that you are taking a very serious step when you're getting behind a vehicle and drive at 110 kilometres an hour. I think it also reminds those that make transport their full-time occupation that we accept the fact that they have a very, very dangerous occupation. And I think there is no more important thing for a government to do than act on behalf to enforce community safety. I think like the introduction of RBTs, the introduction of better controlled speed limits like that we see when red light cameras and speed cameras are put around this state, a proof positive that we're in all the whereas this House is often a combative place, when it does come to community safety, we often speak as one. And in that capacity, and with that thought, I thank and acknowledge the opposition, particularly the opposition spokesman on roads, Mr Parks, for the spirit of bipartisan that they bring to this legislation. In addressing the legislation, the bill, Mr Acting Speaker, it's hard not to refer to the speech, the second reading speech by the Minister for Roads and Ports, the Honourable Duncan Gay, and he said in his opening remarks on the 26th of March in the other place that between 2007 and 2011 there were 146 crashes in breakdown lanes and road shoulders across New South Wales, resulting in 8 fatalities and 112 injuries. Now, Mr Acting Speaker, 8 fatalities, as we all know in this place, is 8 fatalities too much. But when you consider those fatalities occurred not when people were driving along at 110 kilometres an hour themselves, they occurred because there was a high-speed environment in a dual carriageway, and the analysis of the crash showed that some of these people were actually in breakdown lanes. I actually find that abhorrent to think that there were people who were just trying to do the right thing, set out on the day, and in many respects, some of the case studies that the Minister refers to, they were probably very, very much safe drivers and the type of people that are risk averse when they get on to the roads. So, Mr Acting Speaker, I commend the bill. I would like to highlight the fact that in this bill the amendments are actually quite minimal. So for those in the motor industry who complain regularly, quite rightly on many occasions, that we are legislating driving so much that people are going to be tuned out to any amendments to legislation. I actually highlight the fact that the Minister's leadership has seen that these amendments are minimal, and I commend the Minister for doing that, and that they will not adversely impact prosecutions under the section that they were not related to in breakdown or crash situations. I think this is important from a road safety point of view because unsafe driving in a variety of circumstances that result in or has the potential for harm is currently prosecuted under the provisions. Mr Acting Speaker, can I also say that the case studies that have been issued the case studies that have been referred to in the second reading speech by the Minister, and many of the case studies that we've heard from today, should in fact be compulsory reading for anybody getting their licence. They should be compulsory reading for people that think that a driver's licence is some right. It's not a right, it's a privilege. It should be compulsory reading for people that are right now in this state, particularly in this city, planning their spring and summer vacations on roads, on highways, taking them long distances across this great state. It should be compulsory reading for them as they prepare those journeys. Mr Acting Speaker, I don't know if there's anybody in this chamber who hasn't been at a serious car accident. They are very, very daunting events to be part of. They are very, very chilling events to be part of. They're very, very. Makes one very conscious of the frailty of human life, and how the fact that a motor car and a truck indeed, while being considered, we take it for granted, is something that can create a great deal of harm and danger in the community. So for that reason, Mr Acting Speaker, I commend the bill to the House.
I thank the member for Borkham Hill.